Hey guys, welcome back to Kobayashi Island. I'm City Walk City Wall, and this episode we're going to continue work in the downtown, finishing out most of this kind of old harbor marina area. I also work on the shoreline that stretches out from here along where the bridge and this freeway enters the downtown, and start building the outskirts of what I'm imagining is sort of like a Times Square, Shibuya crossing, sort of big flashy lights area that will eventually stretch much deeper into the downtown. First thing, what you're seeing me work on now, this general area, is a fish market. In my mind, this is the only part of the old harbor that's actually still being used for its original purpose that it was built for. Like I said in earlier episodes, this whole area used to be where the city's harbor was, the main harbor, but at some point in the sort of recent past, they built a newer, larger, better harbor on the far side of the island. Fishing boats are pretty small and maybe never necessarily outgrew the space the same way container ships might have. So I'm thinking that this fish market is actually pretty old. These old fishing boats can pull, right up to it, offload onto these tiny little piers, and then they can sell, like the catch of the day, 100 feet away at the little market. I'm thinking that in a future episode I might expand this market kind of towards the larger piers along the water here. Maybe make that into like a farmer's market or something, but not necessarily this episode at least. One of the things that kind of sucks about these piers is that these buildings are polluting industrial buildings. And they're right in the middle of downtown, which kind of made things difficult. Because of the pollution, if there's residential buildings like right next to them, the citizens will get constantly sick. So I had to be really careful about where I could and couldn't place apartment buildings near this fish market. I wanted to have them super close. I feel like that's kind of realistic. It's like so cramped in this area. It's like a lower income neighborhood, and maybe you'd have like some sort of terrible apartments right above the fish market, and you're always battling that fish smell at bed when you're going to bed at night. But I guess that makes people sick in the game, which, maybe that would make people sick in real life too. So I guess it's kind of understandable. Next little area that I worked on after this is just this really thin strip of land that you're seeing me place down this road for, that's right along the water. It's smashed between the freeway and the sea. It's super steep, and I'm a little surprised with myself at like actually how much I was able to pack into here. I've been watching $2.20's Szechuan Province series. If you haven't watched it, definitely go check it out. It's great, and I really was liking the way that he's placing down these tall, skinny apartment buildings on these really steep hills with all this like greenery around them. They're very lush. Obviously that's China, but I thought, I don't know, this area is very steep, very similar in that way. It's hard to access. It's right next to a fish market and a freeway. Maybe some older, not quite as nice apartment buildings would actually fit here. So I built a lot in this small space, and it's crazy. I think like 2,000 people ended up squeezing into this one, tiny little alley street here. So it's kind of cool. Anyways, I know last episode I talked for like 20 minutes straight, and I don't want to get in the habit of that, get everyone, sick of my voice. So I'm just going to shut up for a little while, let this time lapse play out, and I'll be back towards the end of the episode. Hey guys. So what I'm working on right now is just the placement of some of these buildings in the flat area around Central Park. A while ago, when I was planning all this out, I was calling this area like the media district, sort of like an area with a lot of malls and billboards and lights, and it's really flashy and a lot of pedestrian traffic, that sort of thing. That's definitely what I'm going for, but I think the center of that style area is going to be more around the five-way intersection now. And so this area that I'm working on now is a little bit more like the transition into that kind of area. I was actually really struggling with what I'm building here, mainly because of citizens' health, and there was just like a million ambulances coming into here. I mean, it already happened once because of the fish market, and you'll see again right at the end of the episode, I had to tear down another apartment building in this area and replace it with a commercial building because the residents were getting sick. I think over here, it was the freeway and the train station together producing just so much noise that was doing it, rather than like the pollution of those industrial buildings. Like if you look at the pollution map and the noise map and the land value map in this area, even though a lot of people live in this downtown that I built, I'm starting to build this episode, it has like really low land value at the moment. It's not a great area. I mean, the population went from the beginning of the episode, it was like 18,000, and at the end of the episode, it's all the way up to 24,000. But from what I can tell, most of those people are uneducated adults, and it's pretty low land value in this area. So it's like a little bit of a weird area at the moment, and I think that'll start changing once I build some schools and services and just more buildings around this area. But for now, it's a little bit of a weird area. Last thing I did this episode was I built a big mall that takes up like an entire block. I wanted to do that there because the freeway kind of borders this area, and it's like curved, the freeway, so I thought I could do a cool like curved parking structure right up against that and fill the space like really perfectly. This parking structure, I'll admit, I got a little lazy with it. I mean, I went into more detail putting billboards and lights like on the side, but I didn't actually make any up and down ramps like to get to the higher levels. Cars in the game still will actually park on those higher levels, or on the roof of the garage, but it doesn't actually look quite right. It looks like there's something missing, but maybe it's like one of those things you don't notice immediately. I mean, these ramps are so tedious, it just makes building these parking structures take like so much longer, and I wanted to focus on other things. So hopefully it's just one of those things that's not super noticeable on first glance when you're looking at wide shots of it, but that's for you to decide, I guess. Like I said before, just in general, this is a city I'm building sort of quickly, without making every little detail perfect, and that's on purpose. I want to actually finish this project, and at the same time I want to make it really, really big. So I know I can't really get bogged down on every little thing being perfect. I think it's just one of those things where I'm much more concerned with the broad strokes and getting it looking good from a distance, and I just can't bother myself with making sure every single parking garage has a ramp, it's going to take an extra hour, half an hour or whatever just to do that. So anyways, that's just about it for this episode. This was a really satisfying one because I just was able to get so much done in an episode. Usually it's I can't quite build this much of an area in one sit down. I'm super excited to continue working on this downtown. I can already tell just more areas that look like what I did today all together are going to work really well and be really cool looking. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did, and thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.